So if you have missed or quite did not comprehend how functions work, I'm creating a little bit of an explainer video on the Python functions. So we're going to look at the definition of a function, the importance of functions in programming, and then the syntax and structure of the function. So as you're probably aware that the function is going to be a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. So you don't want to overload the function and doing a lot of different things. Focus on making sure it does a specific task. And most definitely it helps to organize and modularize the code to make it more readable and obviously a lot more maintainable by that. Once you understand the concept of functions, you're definitely going to be utilizing this in future programming labs. So we're going to take a look at to see how the function header is, the body, and how to call the particular function. So this example here, we're going to look at the structure. So we have the keyword def to define that this is going to be a function. And this part right here is identifying that you are creating a name for your function. Naming rules apply the same thing for creating variables. And then we have the ability to have additional arguments that are sent to this particular function. And here we end up with a semicolon. So you know that we have a semicolon. Everything needs to be indented to identify that this is basically part of the block. And we have a simple two print statements here. And in the example code I'll show you that I'm going to do, this is a void function, which simply means that if I don't have any arguments that are coming into this function, that it's considered to be a void function. And then somewhere else in the code, I'm going to call the function, and you notice how the syntax is. So I'm utilizing the name, and then we have the parentheses here. So since I'm not passing any arguments onto that, and you notice there's no semicolon or anything else, so this is how you basically call the function. So let's take a look at the syntax in a program. So once again, we have our definition of my message. We have our statements here, and then this is how we're calling the function. And let me go over here and run the code, and you notice that it just basically prints out what it was supposed to do. And that is your simple function. Next example, we're going to take a look at actually passing an argument into the function here. So its setup is pretty much the same, and the only difference is that now we're going to be passing in an argument. So in this particular case, I'm calling a function, and then I have some kind of argument component that I'm passing to. So in this example, I'm going to be utilizing a string value, and that's going to get passed on to here, which then in this block of code, that is going to be referred to as by a variable called arg1, and then I'm able to print the argument over here for arg1. So let's go ahead and take a look at our code and change things around. So message here, and we'll take this particular syntax here. We'll take that, copy that down below, making sure that we have the proper quotes. Get rid of that, and we'll just do, let's just do x1. And here we'll identify this as x1. So basically, this information is being passed to this particular argument, and then that's going to print out. This is a void, well, it's no longer a void function. This is a function. Get rid of that, and then we'll come back here and we'll run the code. You see that the program worked. Behind the scenes, structured differently, display the output doesn't really affect it as one would expect. So that is basically passing an argument into a function. Now, some of the programs that we're going to be doing, we'll be passing different types of arguments and then returning different types of values with that. If you want to flowchart a function, this will be the symbol that we will be utilizing. And if we take a look at this a little bit deeper, so we have our main program that we would start out with, and this is basically identifying that we have a function. So that means we're able then to break out of this or create a separate scheme of flowchart symbols, and this is referring to my message. So this is performing specific code. Once that's done, it returns back to here. So that's how we would flowchart things out. And this is again another example. So I'm given some parameters here. We're going to my message, come over here. And if you remember in previous examples, I could utilize the keyword pass to set up the structure and not to have any specific code in that particular function. So the hierarchy of a function, I mean, it's limitless on that part. So we have the main program, and then we could have a whole bunch of different function calls. One function could even call yet another function. And the benefit again of this is you're able to create blocks of code that you're able to reuse in a more organized fashion. The other thing is we're also able to utilize variables, and variables can be used inside or outside the function. And in this particular section here that you're going to be doing labs, variables that are inside the function are referred to as local. So meaning that the variables are only available in that particular function. Now in other examples I've shown you how to utilize global variables, which will be available in the program globally in all the functions that you have in that particular code. All right, so that is basically a quick little explainer for functions.